Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Parkinson's Disease Education Podcast. It's so great to have you here. We're going to be talking about stress and its effects on the symptoms of Parkinson's disease in this episode. I'm really excited to bring this to you. This is a topic I think that is pertinent to all persons with Parkinson's disease. And based on your feedback, it seems like this is something that you all want to hear about. So I'm excited to bring this to you. I want to keep this introduction short and sweet, but I wanted to leave you with one fact that we're going to talk more about in the next part of the episode after the intro. And that fact is that stress worsens all symptoms associated with Parkinson's disease. That's non-motor and motor symptoms. You're going to want to stick around to hear the rest of this, as well as to wait until the end of the episode to hear about ways to deal with stress as a person with Parkinson's disease. I think you'll be interested to hear about those methods and how effective that they can be for you. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Welcome to the Parkinson's Disease Education Show, where we demystify the disease and empower you as the person with Parkinson's disease to reach your true potential. The content contained on this show is for informational purposes only and is not meant to be a replacement for information or advice that you receive from your in-person medical or therapy professionals. If you haven't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing, and for an even more personalized experience, please ask us about our memberships. Now, without further ado, let's start the show. Now, as human beings, none of us are strangers to stress. Stress can come in so many different forms. It can be frustration, being stuck in traffic, you're running late somewhere and you just can't stand the fact that the traffic is stopping, that you're not able to drive faster. It could be from lack of sleeping. Maybe your body is stressed, a physical stressor on your body. Illness can be a stressor. Any sort of trauma to the body, including surgery, can be a stressor. And also there's other forms of emotional distress. Maybe your marriage is strained. Maybe you have an unexpected bill show up in the mail and you're not sure you can afford it. What if you are worried about losing your job? There are way too many examples to bring into this, but suffice it to say that stress is something that all of us experience. But what makes this distinctly interesting for persons with Parkinson's disease, and also very important to understand, is that stress has a major impact on you and your symptoms. As we mentioned in the introduction, this is something that will worsen all symptoms that you experience or may experience as a person with Parkinson's disease, whether that's the movement symptoms or the non-movement symptoms. Now, to highlight this a little bit more, I wanted to dive into a study that was published on Parkinson's Foundation in the United States. And this was conducted in 2021. This was published in Parkinson's Disease magazine by Vanderheide, Specken et al. In this survey of 5,000 participants, they asked 4 questions, or they wanted to find out the answer to these 4 questions. Number 1, do people with PD experience more stress than control groups? Number 2, what personality and disease characteristics are associated with stress? Number 3, which PD symptoms are particularly susceptible to stress? And finally, Number 4, what strategies for persons with Parkinson's would be the most effective in dealing with stress? The results are very interesting. I already previously mentioned one of the findings, which was that stress does indeed worsen all PD symptoms in the majority of those surveyed. Of particular interest, though, of those that experienced tremor with Parkinson's, 81.8% of those in the survey said that their tremors worsened with stress. Something else of note is that cognitive symptoms and emotional problems also worsened. So folks had more confusion, more issues with anger, depression, and irritability, even speech and communication issues. That's not an exhaustive list of their findings. I'm giving you an overview, highlight of everything right now. I want to talk about stress management methods next, based on the survey and study we mentioned. But before that, I wanted to dive into the question of why? And this is something I've always personally wanted to know. Why are persons with Parkinson's more susceptible to stress? Why does stress make persons with Parkinson's in particular respond in a more negative way? It's clear to me from researching the topic for this episode that this is an ongoing area of research and clinical research. It's encouraged to see that there have been publications on this topic within the last few months in this year. Interestingly enough, it's the same authors that published the study we just mentioned earlier, which was that survey of 5,000 participants that had Parkinson's disease. Something that they highlighted in the introduction of the paper that I thought was really interesting and I had not thought of myself is the fact that when one is exposed to a stressor, especially a negative stressor of some kind, we have to have a release of dopamine from the striatal area of the brain. We need that dopamine release from the striatum in order to have an appropriate stress response. Or I guess the best word is a more adequate stress response. So it's possible just the lack of dopamine in itself from Parkinson's disease is one of the reasons that folks with PD tend not to cope with stress very well. Authors of this paper admit that this is an area of science that is lacking. So much more research is needed to find definitive connections between stress responses, Parkinson's disease progression, and so forth. So even though this is an ongoing area of research, I am encouraged by the fact that van der Heide and colleagues have come up with what I would consider one of the best hypotheses I've come across as to the question of why this happens with persons with Parkinson's. Why are people with Parkinson's susceptible to their symptoms becoming worse with stress? That hypothesis of the striatal release of dopamine being depleted and hence not an adequate stress response makes complete sense. But of course, clinical proof of that would be wonderful. I do hope this is an area where researchers will continue to dig deeper to find out more answers. Now, the answer of why may or may not be the most important thing about this episode. I want to make sure that we go into what you can do about stress in your life as a person with Parkinson's disease so that you can help to manage it better. With the survey by van der Heide and colleagues that we mentioned earlier, some of these results may not surprise you, especially the first one I'm going to mention, which is exercise. Exercise was the most frequently cited to reduce stress in over 83% of cases. Practicing mindfulness is something else to consider, and that's something that has been shown to improve both motor and non-motor symptoms in the participants of this study. Out of those in this survey that participated in mindfulness practice, over 60% noticed improvement in depression and over 64% in anxiety. So to wrap all this up in a bow and put it all together, we know that persons with Parkinson's disease are more susceptible to stress than the general population. We know that stress is going to increase the symptoms of all symptoms of Parkinson's disease that you experience. We know that lack of dopamine is very likely to be a reason why the stress response is not as adequate in persons with Parkinson's disease. And finally, we know that exercise, as well as mindfulness and practices that are similar to that, may also help to greatly alleviate stress, especially in the acute moments of stress. So if you hadn't heard it here before, which I know you have, because I've said it 100 times, exercise is crucial when you're a person with Parkinson's disease. And this is just one further reason why that's a fact, and that's important to remember. Just as a brief highlight at the very end about exercise, just remember that even light exercise helps to improve mood. More intense exercise, such as aerobics, help to increase not only mood, but also can increase your dopamine production. Further, high-intensity exercises can help cognition and mood, as well as your motor and non-motor symptoms because of dopamine release. So, with all of this said, I hope that I've stressed you can deal with stress in your life as a person with Parkinson's disease. It just may take an extra effort with some of the methods we discussed compared to the general population. But even people that don't have Parkinson's disease can benefit from the effects of exercise and mindfulness to reduce stress. We all need reduction of stress at some point in our lives. Let me know if you have any further questions about this topic that I may not have remembered to address in this episode. Let me know in the comments below what methods of stress relief that you use as a person with Parkinson's disease in your everyday life. If you like this episode, please do like it, share it with other people. Please do also consider supporting our channel sponsors, which are found in the links below. In particular, I wanted to highlight Comfort Linen because we talked about stress and sleep. Sleeping is very important, and the Comfort Linen products for bed linens as well as sleepwear could really help you, especially with being comfortable at night, not too hot or too cold, as well as being able to move in bed easier. Thanks so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. As always, be empowered.